Our story begins in the Superpower Academy, where our protagonist, Ningfeng, is laughingly playing games on his phone while walking. He was engrossed in an online game when someone launched a palm strike at him, slapping him hard on the face. Wang Yu asks him what he was doing and reminds him that the awakening exam is about to happen. Instead of preparing, he was playing games. He laughingly asks her if it isn't a combination of work and rest. He then tells her that he is already 18 years old and, at most, he'll awaken into a 1 or 2 star ordinary profession. He then leans towards her and tells her that he is not unlike her, who awakened a 5-star profession at 16, and asks her why he should work so hard if he can just rely on her coattails in the future, making her pissed. She then grabs him by the neck while shouting that she'll let him rely on her. While he was choking, the men notice Wang Yu and think that she must have returned from special training. Also, their province hasn't produced such a genius as Wang Yu in many years. Wang Yu's gap between people is too wide because she is beautiful, wealthy, and talented. Then they notice him trying to take his phone back, making the men wonder who he was. One of them answers that it was Ningfeng, the infamous trash of the school, because he was about to turn 18, but still hasn't awakened. Wang Yu dragged him by the ears while the men, clearly irritated, ask how someone like Goddess Wang Yu, a nice beauty, could hang out with such a person. One of the men replied that he heard they had been childhood friends but wondered how someone like that could match up with a childhood friend like Wang Yu when he was from an orphanage. Blue Star is a world where games and reality merge, and as long as they are over 16, they have the chance to awaken their abilities and become adventurers. Someone then tells the students that the next awakening miracle could be them. Ningfeng was waiting in line, wondering what was up with Wang Yu because she was being so serious again when it was his 3rd time taking the exam, and he was not a rookie. The instructor tells them that the students called to the front should go to the testing area for assessment, and that the students who successfully awaken will receive a set of basic equipment for their profession. They should also prepare for practical testing. The students begin to chat about what they want to get when the instructor calls his name. He walks to the front while the students teasingly ask if he isn't the senior from grade 3. And whisper that he always follows Goddess Wang Yu, thinking he is so powerful, yet he hasn't awakened at 18. He then approached the teacher named Kai Wai, and with a smile, she told him not to be nervous. She ordered him to place his hand on the crystal and relax his mind, which he followed. Once settled, he waited without expecting anything to happen but was shocked when the crystal lit up, leaving everyone stunned and surprised along with him. He thought he must be able to awaken because the crystal reacted to him, and he knew that the blue light represented the magic system. The students began to laugh at him, but he didn't care, knowing that awakening would automatically teach him initial skills. He decided to see how many stars of the profession he could awaken. The crystals then released different colors, and he was shocked to see the system show him that he had awakened a 1-star profession and learned a skill, the mud marsh technique. Kai Wai thought it was a pity for him to get only 1 star, and the students began to laugh at him. They teasingly told him to hurry down because standing there was embarrassing, and that garbage is garbage. Kai Wai asked him what skill he had awakened, and when he didn't answer, Kai Wai called him again, catching his attention, and he looked back at her, confused. She thought he seemed to have suffered a big blow from his looks, and after all that silence, in the end, he was still just 1 star. She then gave him his equipment and ordered him to change into it and move to the next stage. He walked away, wondering if he had really not misheard, and remembered the system telling him that his awakening was complete and he had gained passive abilities, Dark Kinship and Mystery Gift. The system also explained to him that the passive skill, Dark Kinship, means he would not suffer a backlash from dark power and could use forbidden spells without any cost. The passive skill, Mystery Gift, meant he could release forbidden spells once a week without consumption, making him wonder if the dark power was the most evil power in that world and if forbidden spells were the highest level of magic. But then, the system told him that he got the mud marsh technique and it was beginning transformation, making him wonder what transformation meant and what it was. The system just told him that the transformation was complete, so the mud marsh technique transformed into the forbidden curse, Foul Earth Shell, leaving him stunned and confused about what was going on. He thought that darkening and forbidden spells didn't sound good and knew that he still had the practical test, so he hoped nothing would go wrong. Later, the instructor told them that 50 people would enter in groups, each battling monsters in the realm to familiarize themselves with their newly awakened skills. Candidates were not allowed to form teams or attack each other, and unmanned drones would supervise. Kai Wai told everyone to confirm their skills as soon as possible and they shouldn't worry because others wouldn't see them. The system then showed him that his active skill was Foul Earth Shell, a dark forbidden spell that summons dark power from another world to form a protective shield and was also capable of crushing all approaching enemies. He knows that those words sound very dangerous, making him wonder if it was some evil spell. He thinks he'll be in trouble if someone finds out about his skill. The instructor then ordered them to enter the arena, which they all followed, while he was shouting to the system in panic for an explanation. He then enters the portal and comes out in a sunny forest. The students begin to use their new skills to defeat the goblins inside. While the others are busy fighting with the goblins, he is busy hiding in the bush. When a goblin walks near him, he immediately hides. He was busy thinking that the entire exam menu was monitored by drones, so he dared not use those forbidden spells casually. But knowing that he didn't have any other means of attack, he decided to hide and wait for an opportunity, not noticing the drone flying above him. A man who saw him hiding angrily said that everyone else was leveling up by killing and asked what he was doing. Kaiwai called the man Captain Zhu and explained that Ningfeng awakened relatively late and wasn't in good health. Also, the only activated skill he possesses is a defensive spell, not very suitable for solo combat. Captain Zhu tells her to call Ningfeng out because there is no need for him to continue the exam. After all, with just a 1-star profession, he can't become a real adventurer. But then, the monitoring man makes a confused sound, making Captain Zhu look back at the monitor and ask what is going on. The man replies that he doesn't know, but it seems like the drone was attacked and then the feed was cut off. The man then shouts an alert to everyone and reports that unusually high power fluctuations were detected in the realm, making Captain Zhu panic and order his men to investigate in a hurry and find out what is happening. On the other hand, inside the arena, the drone was destroyed into pieces while the man was on the ground, shaking in fear and asking how there could be such powerful monsters in the exam venue while looking at the huge goblin with sharp blades in hand. The goblin orders his brethren to rise and not to be enslaved any longer. He then orders the goblins to let those invaders die there, which the goblins agree to. The drone flew closer to the goblins, but the leader attacked it with his power, making it explode and fall into a nearby bush. Ningfeng, hit in the head, wondered why the drone fell, but then he was shocked to see a swarm of goblins surrounding him. The leader goblin laughingly said that there was actually a little bug there. A few goblins dashed toward him to attack while he wondered why so many monsters were gathering and guessed that the one in the middle seemed to be an elite leader. He then realized that the drone was gone and thinks that this was a great opportunity to test if the forbidden spell was real. He raised his hand and a purple power emanated from him. The goblin leader was shocked to see an undead rising from underground. On the other hand, at the station, a man shouted that all the screens had lost connection and suddenly, a leakage of dark power occurred in the realms, suspected to be from a king level or above monster. Captain Zhu ordered his men to call for reinforcements immediately and evacuate all non-combatants nearby. Kaiwai knew that a king level or above monster was a disaster capable of destroying a city and wondered why such a terrifying presence would be in the exam menu. Back in the arena, the goblin leader was sweating in horror and fear upon seeing his power, but Ningfeng simply released his undead to attack the goblins. He was amazed to see the forbidden spells in action, thinking they were kind of gross and sticky looking, which scared him. As his undead killed the goblins one by one, the system informed him that he had killed a goblin minion, gaining 10 experience and continuously gaining more experience points for every goblin killed. The goblin leader was shocked by the powerful darkness and asked if he was not human and how this was possible. Then, realizing his movements were slowing down, the leader shouted not to come any closer, but the undead just wrapped around it and killed it. The system then informed him that he had killed the goblin vanguard and gained 6,000 experience. A moment later, the system displayed his character information. His occupation was a mage, his level was 10, health was 10, strength was 8, agility was 8, spirit was 20, and his experience was 12. He was amazed to have gained 10 levels in one go, knowing that in previous year's practical tests, participants could only level up by 1 or 2 levels at most. He thought the experience points from the small monsters were all very low, mainly relying on the elite monster from earlier, and wondered how there could be elite monsters appearing in the exam venue. But then, an item lit up in front of him, making him realize it was the loot dropped by the elite monster, and he noticed that both items were of orange quality. He grabbed the Vanguard Mark, a consumable item of orange quality, which gave him a permanent plus 10 agility attribute. Then, there was the Shadow Butcher's Claw, also of orange quality, with a requirement level of 20. It provided plus 13 strength, plus 16 agility, plus 10% attack speed, plus 5% critical hit rate, and a 10% chance to trigger a combo, and it could be inlaid with up to 3 enhancements. He knew that orange quality was already considered epic level treasure, which meant they were definitely very valuable. And although he couldn't use the claw now, orange equipment could still sell for a lot of money. Excited at the thought of easily leveling up by killing monsters and finally getting rich, he was then startled when the captain ordered everyone to immediately abandon the test and used the teleport scroll to evacuate, making him wonder what was happening. Suddenly, he felt a strong power spreading around him, and when he peeked back, he was shocked to see holes in the ground, making him question why it was so desolate there, if it was the power of the forbidden curse, and if they were all traps. He immediately opened his scroll, knowing it would be terrible if someone found out, so he must run away. The other students used their scrolls to leave the arena too. Captain Zhu shouted to everyone not to stay there and to leave immediately to return to the city. Zhu clenched his teeth, thinking that even if everyone present teamed up, they wouldn't be able to resist a king level or above monster, and he didn't know if reinforcements would make it in time. But Zhu was shocked to realize that the source of the dark power suddenly disappeared, fearfully wondering if that demon had escaped outside the realm. When he came out from the arena, he saw Kai Wai telling someone that it was already beyond what they could handle, so she'd report immediately, and everyone had to remain silent to avoid large-scale chaos. She also ordered the activation of the school's ceiling array, leaving only one exit for unrelated personnel to evacuate quickly. He called out to Kai Wai to ask, but she worriedly asked if he was okay. He replied that he was fine, and she ordered him to leave in a hurry, telling him that the school was temporarily suspended, so he shouldn't come back unless necessary. Later, he asks Wang Yu what is going on because it seems like their teacher, Kai Wai, is facing a formidable enemy. She replies that she heard an unknown power source was detected in the exam venue and that the whole school had been sealed off. He wonders if it could be the unidentified elite monster and thinks about how hard it was for him to endure until awakening, only for the test to be interrupted halfway. Wang Yu notices his disappointment and thinks that the incident has hit him hard. She then tells him that defensive spells can save his life, but they are not suitable for leveling alone, and starting tomorrow, he'll team up with them. He thanked her for her kindness but told her that it was not necessary because he can level up on his own. He proudly thinks that it's not that he doesn't want to, but he only knows the dark forbidden spells, so he can't casually use them in front of others, while Wang Yu looks at him, confused. She then shouts to him that no refusal is allowed, and tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, at the west gate, she'll be waiting for him. He tried to stop her, but she just walks away, leaving him frustrated and shouting, asking why she won't listen to him. He also shouts that Wang Yu is so autocratic, but he calms down, knowing that it was bad and wonders if he should fake being sick. He then realizes that it won't work because, with Wang Yu's personality, he can't avoid her indefinitely. He then thinks of a plan and wonders if it'll work. Later, he arrives at Yuan Cheng Exchange, aware that some equipment comes with skills attached. He plans to buy an item with a Meyer spell attached and pretend to use it tomorrow. He walks into the store, hoping that the system won't turn the equipment's skill into a forbidden spell, and thinks about selling the loot from earlier monster fights. A pretty lady asks him how she may assist him, and he replies that he'd like to purchase an item with the Meyer spell attached, whether it's a weapon, clothing, or accessory. She asks him if he is a newly awakened student and tells him that there is no need to specifically buy a low-level spell like the Meyer spell because they have many items with high-level spells attached, more suitable for leveling up. She offers to show him some, but he replies that there is no need for it because he just needs it temporarily, so the equipment level doesn't need to be too high. The lady then calls someone to assist him and walks away, remarking that after all, he was a penniless person and she was not going to bother serving him, so he should let the newcomer handle him, leaving him confused. Then, another lady asks him how she can assist him, and he replies the same. The lady showed him the equipment. He tried the gloves, armor, and a sword that he couldn't lift, but in the end, he settled for a ring. The lady asked him if he was satisfied with that ring, and he replied that it was fine. He then thanked the lady for accompanying him to so many stores and asked where he could sell loot. The lady took him to the appraisal consignment room. The man inside invited them in, and the lady informed the man, Wang, that he wanted to sell loot. He showed the armor, asking if Wang could help them evaluate it and how much it could be sold for. Wang saw that it was an agility-based orange weapon with low-level requirements, boasting excellent attributes, very suitable for newcomers, and it also came with 3 gem slots, allowing for adjustments according to needs to achieve more suitable effects. Wang told him that it was a good item and they should have several clients interested in that equipment. Wang then asked him if he had any specific requirements for its price, and he replied that the higher the price, the better. Wang said he understood and asked him to wait a moment because he would make a phone call to contact the clients. Wang then called Lady Yang to tell her that Ningfeng was her guest, so she should take care of him, which she agreed to. Wang called someone named Zhang to ask if he was still looking to find a fine piece of equipment for his son and mentioned that he happened to have one there, while Yang was pouring him tea on the side. After the call, Wang informs him that the equipment has been sold and the buyer is willing to pay 50,000 crystals. However, after deducting an 8% transaction fee, he will receive 46,000 crystals. This revelation shocks Ningfeng, and Yang stares at him in disbelief too. A moment later, Wang mentions that if he completes the formalities there, they'll transfer the money to his account immediately. Ningfeng replies that it was quick and he was just thinking about buying a few more pieces of equipment. Wang assures him that he'll recommend some shortly, guaranteeing his satisfaction. Outside the room, another lady asks the pretty lady from earlier if she didn't mention that she likes handsome guys the most and questions why she